I've had a lot of talks with my wife on communication because my wife would tend to bottle things up inside until the point where she would just burst. And because I'm not a mind reader, I had to help her come up with ways to communicate herself before she got to that point of blowing up. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the journey that I took to be able to help her find and figure out what she can do to express herself before she got to that point of blowing up. Early on in my relationship, my wife actually came out of the bathroom one day and she was like, why don't you, like, why is the floor always wet? Why do I always have to clean it? And instantly in my brain, I was like, she's already screwed up because she's at a point where she's mad over something that's unnecessary. And instead of trying to reason with her and whatnot, I knew that I just had to get her out of that state and help her to communicate because it wasn't the first time. And she let it build up inside of her, seeing the floor wet and then cleaning it and then seeing it the next day, letting it fester inside of her, where she had to just clean it again the next day until the point where she just blew up. And I had to talk with her that day where I was like, hey, like, you can't let stuff boil up. You have to share it and talk about it when it first happens. And so in my brain, I'm thinking, oh, I'm not going to have to deal with this again. I've shared it with her. She learned a valuable lesson from it. And while that example didn't happen again because we talked through it, what happened was this kept happening where she kept going through these phases of not communicating something till it became a problem, or she resolved it inside, but she still had to deal with that problem that happened every time within her. So that's really the issue, right? Where you have someone who doesn't communicate their feelings and they bottle it up inside. And in a relationship, you don't want that. And you especially don't want someone to blow up. Anytime there's any bad energy in a relationship at all, it doesn't make sense, right? You're with this person for the rest of your life. Not even your friends, you have issues where you're just blowing up. And I know you don't see them every day, but it's just odd for it to blow up. And that's kind of how you have to see it, where you're like, I don't want a relationship like that, where I don't want something where someone's going to blow up or someone's going to be very frustrated at something. So that's really the first step of doing this. But what really helped my wife to learn to communicate was finally, after having a long talk with her on her feelings and not letting it out and not communicating, I came up with something called FAT. And all that is it stands for first talking about your feelings. So at the end of every night, what my wife does is she will actually share her feelings of something that maybe triggered her or bothered her or annoyed her. And that way she lets it out. It's just this valve to let out anything that's being pent up inside, and you don't want to let it pent up. So she shares her feelings. It might be like, day when you brushed past me and you didn't say sorry, I felt really hurt. This is the type of communication that you want because you're releasing it and you feel better when you talk it out. Then she'll share A, which is agreeance or disagreeance, and her feelings on like that whole story and the thought of what she had of that feeling. So, hey, you brushed up against me and you didn't say anything and it made me feel hurt. But I understand that it's just me, right? That's disagreeance with the feeling that you have, and then just her thoughts on it. So it might mean something like, I came to the realization of this, or just sharing about it, or why she thought that way, whatever her thoughts are on the subject, right? Each person's going to think something different, but it's just sharing her thoughts on that. And we found that doing this every day for her allowed her to be able to express herself and share what she's feeling. It's something that worked really well for me. I'm sure it'll work well for you as well. Give it a try. Let me know what you think.